Another good color feature that you'll find in InDesign is the gradient features. There's several ways that you can use gradients. And unlike a lot of the Adobe products, there are no default gradients in the swatches panel. So you'll have to make one. So the first way and easiest way to see a gradient is to click on the gradient panel. Now if you don't have it in whatever workspace that you're in, all you need to do is go to Window, to Color, and pick Gradient. So there you are, it popped it up. I already had dragged it out. And the default gradient is a white to black gradient, as you can see here. Well, we don't want a white to black gradient. We want a gradient with color, right? So we're going to go to the swatches panel, and in the panel options menu we can create a new gradient swatch, which is what we're going to do. So we get this new gradient swatch dialog box, and we can name our gradient. So let's wait for a minute to do that. The first thing to know is that there are two types of gradients. This is much like you might find in Illustrator, I believe, and well, Photoshop. There's linear and radial. So we'll do both of those, but before we get to that, let's talk about the gradient ramp. The gradient ramp is where you decide what your colors in your gradient are going to be. And as I just showed you, the default gradient is a white to black gradient, and we want some color. So down here in the gradient ramp, you'll see there is a white box on the left side of the gradient and a black box on the right side of the gradient. And very similar to other Adobe products, all we need to do to pick a color for one of those is to double click on it, and then here we have the CMYK colors, so we can put in a color if we know the percentage, or we can just drag it. So let's start with a really light color, since we're kind of starting on the white side, and then let's go with a dark color for the other side. Now it goes to swatches. Now you can pick here how you want to pick your colors. So if you just want to use the swatches, you can do that. But if you want to use CMYK like we just used, that's where you would do this. And of course we want a pretty dark color. And you have to turn the black all the way down. Alright. Well, we do want some more black than that. So, but I kind of want like a more of a purple, so let's turn up the blue, and we'll turn down the light a little bit. I'm not doing a very good job here. Any case, that's close enough. So we have our starting color and our ending color, and then this diamond in the middle is called a stop. The stop just tells us where in the gradient one color is going to start turning into the other color. So this is right in the middle, so there's a very even blend from the dark color to the light color. But if we move it more towards the light color, you'll see that there's more of the dark color. The transition starts earlier in the gradient, and then if we drag it the other way, we can see it starts later in the gradient and there's more of the light color. Well, and you can also put that value in as the location. So we're going to go back to 50%, and that's right in the middle. And we're going to name this now. We're going to name it Pink Purple Gradient and say OK. So now it appears in our swatches panel. Now let's apply that gradient to an object. So I'm going to pick my purple circle here. And I am going to now click on the gradient, and you'll see it's now a gradient from one color to the other. Now this is the linear gradient, but just so you can see what the radial gradient is. So the linear is a very straight gradient, a straight line gradient, but if you pick the radial gradient, it is like a circular gradient. So you can decide how, by moving the stop, how that gradient is going to look. If you want more light in there, you can do that.